Good morning. Pray that you are well. Excuse me. Pray that you are well. And if you are watching this, the Lord has blessed you to wake up this morning. And that is a blessing. I'm grateful to God for life today. I'm grateful to God for the health that I have. I'm grateful for the way that He's working in my life. I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful for what God is doing in your life. Let's try this again. Many of you have been asking the question. It is actually me. It is actually me who has sent you friend requests. Had an issue with Facebook earlier in the week, and it has not been resolved as yet. And so did not know how long it was going to take for them to verify my identity. I don't need anybody else to verify my identity. So I decided to start a new Facebook page. Just goes to show that sometimes you have to start over in life for whatever circumstances. Sometimes you just have to start over. How do I get into what I want to talk about today? And I'll be honest, normally Saturday mornings, I like to, especially in this COVID time, I've liked to keep things light or lighter. Let me see what's going on. 1 second, please. Okay, we are back. Sorry for that delay. Was having some technical difficulties. Wanted to get it right. I think I have it right now. So thank you for your patience. My heart, my spirit is a little heavy this morning. And I hope that yours is too. Not wishing, for misery, loving company to be a thing, but I hope that you're not okay. And it's, in fact, the fact that you're not okay would be a sign that you don't necessarily suffer from the severity of the sickness that I'm going to be talking about today. As I shared earlier, I appreciate you all for, it's not a hoax. I have sent out some friend requests recently. Facebook is still, my account, my old account was suspended. Little, feel some kind of way about that. I had over 4,000 friends that I'm attempting now to recover. So I thank you all for accepting my friend request and, connecting with me social media wise. Good morning, Kayla and Erica and Brother Jay. And if you would please, if there are people, especially that that I know, if you would just have them send me over a friend request too. It's a very daunting process. So I appreciate your support in that. Hey, Jay, I love you too, brother. So that was a big, deep breath, and I needed that. So thank you for allowing me to physically release. So this is our Saturday morning worship. We've been doing it for over a year now. So I appreciate you tuning in. Good morning, Maddie, to you as well. I'm just going to jump straight into it this morning. The good thing about YouTube and Facebook is the recording will be there. And so I ask that you, if you would, start a watch party. I need to talk about some serious things this morning, but I'm just going to jump right in. 5 years ago, pretty sure 5 years ago, around that time, I took a road trip. To Montreal from Nova Scotia. It's a 11, 12-hour drive. I was going to Montreal. I was traveling with Matthew Thomas and his wife, Alyssa Thomas, and I was their representative, their coach, if you will, for a church planting conference, I guess you can call it, evaluation, really. It was church planting evaluation. And it was in May too. And so I don't know. I don't want to necessarily draw connections that aren't there, but it was in May. I remember this so vividly. And so we get there and, we're meeting with church planters from all across Canada. And it was pretty, it's always, for me, I'm excited about meeting new people, and especially people who are building the kingdom and, doing what we can do in our neck of the woods, if you will. So it was a week-long evaluation process, very rigorous. We like 12, 13-hour days. And so we would be there from the morning, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, something like this. Very, very rigorous. Anyhow, midweek of this assessment in Montreal, I remember waking up, getting in the car with fellow believers. And I was in the car with the assessors and also, I guess you could call it the senders, right? And so it was about a 5-minute drive to where we were headed from where we were sleeping. And I remember in that car ride, it was a small car. There were 5 of us cooped up in the car. And so I was on the left, right behind the driver in the back seat. And, 5 adults in a car like that's not very comfortable. And so I remember being there and we were talking about having coffee. And then someone said, "Did you watch the news this morning?" And I hadn't watched the news because I woke up late and it was actually a retreat kind of week for me, a week where I was connecting with God. And so I just cut myself off from the regular, accoutrements of the world, TV, social media to a degree, definitely social media on this time. So anyway, the question was asked, did you see the news? Did you see what happened in South Carolina? And I hadn't. And so they went on to say that a shooter went into a church that was having Bible study and shot all of the participants that were there in the Bible study. Now, it happened to be a white man assailant walking into a Black church on Wednesday night, being welcomed, and he shooting them, killing them during this Bible study. And so I remembered, like, I'm in the car with these white people, and like my soul released. I cried a cry, and I could not stop crying. Because here I am thinking to myself, I am at a church planting assessment, trying to build the kingdom of God, trying to build bridges, holding hands with my fellow brothers and sisters in Christ who are not Black. And we're having this conversation. We're talking about this horrible thing that happened. And no one seems to be affected. No one seems to be impacted except for me. Like I'm boohooing, crying, and they're going on like nothing happened. I was angry. Even as I'm retelling you this story, my eyes are getting wet. Why am I telling you this story? I'm telling you this story because it's real life. It happened. I take it you saw the news. My sermon is called Crucify Him. Crucify Him. If you've seen the graphics on Facebook, and Shauna has done a fantastic job, the crucify is big, bold, capital letters, and it's in red. But the hymn is lowercase, and they're in white. And the reason why this imagery is so significant is because the crucify, whether it be Charleston 9, whether it be Brother George Floyd this week or Ahmaud Arbery, is the killing seems to be so much more significant than the humanity of the persons whose lives were taken. And we cannot delete the fact, we cannot ignore the fact that these are crimes consistent with the sin in society that is racism. I know y'all don't like to talk about it, but it is what it is. Racism is a sin in society that is cancerous. We don't like to talk about it, but here it is. It's right in front of us. So today I want to talk about crucify him, crucify him. I mentioned the story about the Charleston 9 because after that moment for me, after that outpouring, after that shock, after I was impacted so significantly from that experience, I'll be honest with you. I've kind of gone into a place where I stopped feeling. I stopped feeling because feeling it felt so bad. And you know what? I knew inherently in my inward being that the Charleston 9 would not be the last time that anything like that happened. Because it's been happening and nobody seems to be saying anything about it, especially and including the church. I'm calling the church out today. I'm calling the big capital C church out. I'm calling the little c church out. Because hardly anybody ever says anything about it. Oh, you know, the blood of Jesus matters. I don't see color, blah, blah, blah. Can I call it what it is? It's bullshit. That's what it is. You can hide behind, you know, pious religious language if you want. But you're not living in the world that I'm not living in. And you're not serving the same Savior that I serve if you want to do that. Take it or leave it. It's okay. So, crucify him, crucify him. Now, I've been talking about COVID forever. Like since before Easter, we've been talking about COVID, and we can't isolate what's happening in the world now just to this week. We got to see it in the context, right? We got to see it in the context of the times we're living in, but not even just the times that we're living. I talked about the Charleston 9, which happened years ago, which also falls in a greater backdrop. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So we have COVID, and the statistics show that not only disproportionate number of Black Americans or Black people worldwide have been infected by COVID, but also disproportionate number of people of color, Black people particularly, have died because of COVID, right? So we're in the shelter in place, you know, everybody's cooped up, everybody, you know, is kind of, you know, ripping and raring, wanting to get outside. I still say hold your horses, but you know, it's your choice. You know, businesses are opening, you know, things are opening back up, yada, 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 yo. but this is happening in society. All right, fast forward. Did you see the Amy Cooper video? If you haven't, the Amy Cooper video is almost like a prelude to the George Floyd video. I know Brother Floyd, and bless his whole soul, lost his life. But the Amy Cooper video is as insidious as the George Floyd video. Have you seen it? Two people, nice day, New York City. Black man, he's a bird watcher. He asked a white lady to put her dog on a leash, which the dog was supposed to be on a leash anyway. He's got the whole thing on video. He's recording it. He's being the perfect citizen. The perfect citizen. Man, would you put your dog on the leash? Lady goes crazy. Oh, I'm going to call 911 and I'm going to say that there's an African-American man who's harassing me. And she did it. And because you know why? Because she knew that she could do it. And that she could do it. And that when she called as a white woman, that this man's life would be in jeopardy for calling her out for doing something that she wasn't supposed to be doing anyway. Now listen, y'all, if you don't understand that this is the world that we live in, the world of white privilege, the world of racism, the world of crucify him, if it's a black and brown body, then I don't know what world you are seeing. Amy Cooper, earlier this week, all over the news, right? Horrible, 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 horrible. And so she gets called out on her stuff because the guy was videoing. You know, she gets fired from her job. She loses her dog. And then, you know, she had the nerve to say that she was being harassed and violated. She's losing her life. Okay, now watch this though, because this is what we don't often see because of the racism in our world that's so prevalent. She doesn't see, Amy Cooper does not see that her calling the police on that black man diminishes and dehumanizes his life, because she knows that the police, when they come, they're going to see him as a threat, not only to the woman, but to them. She might as well have been hiring somebody to kill or at least hurt this man by her 911 call. You see, you can look past Amy Cooper if you want to, but Amy Cooper is a real life symptomatic example of what Black people have been trying to tell people forever. It's not safe for me in the world. I could be doing nothing. I could be doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's not safe for me. Let me rewind the clock. Because this week is Brother George Floyd. It was only a couple of weeks ago that Ahmaud Arbery came to light. Now, his case, that was way back in February, but this is the whole thing about the system of racism. A case like that could be pushed and suppressed for 2 months because Ahmaud Arbery is another example of crucify him. He's just jogging, literally jogging. 2.2 miles, something like this. He's jogging. And he is hunted. He is hunted down by men and vehicles. He's jogging on foot, no weapon, and he is hunted down. All right, so then we have this week George Floyd. Now, the pictures are awful. The video is awful. I even saw another video where it was 4 other policemen on the scene. When do the other policemen tell the dude who's on his neck to get off? Like he's laying on the ground. He's handcuffed. When do the other 3 police officers who were there present pull the officer off of him? When does that happen? It didn't happen. And then to find out that the officer was on his neck like 2 minutes and 30 seconds after he was responsive? Come on, man. But this is what happens. Not even when, because it's always been like this. Black bodies in our Western society, in Canada and in the United States, do not have as much value as white bodies. And so white people who are diseased by the racism in the world believe that they have the right to take a Black person's life. And then people have the audacity to say, why are they rioting? Are you kidding me? You want to talk about the riots and the rioting and the fires and whatever, but you do not want to call for I say this sometimes, it makes no sense. A comment came up on the screen, said, police reform now. Yes, but guess what? It's bigger than the police. This is the entire society. It's not just the police. It's the entire structure of society. George Floyd, ultimately, we saw the pictures. George Floyd ultimately lost his life because this police officer had his knee on his neck. And this is another thing we have to be careful about. We cannot isolate these incidences to say, oh, it was only that police officer, or oh, it was only in Minnesota. Minnesota is the only place that has a problem. Listen, history. Don't forget. You remember the name Philando Castile? Do you remember the name? Philando Castile, crucify him, another victim of crucify him. Philando Castile was driving with his wife and his baby in the back seat. Shot live on Facebook Live in Minnesota. But please don't just say, oh, this is just this one police officer. Please don't just say, oh, that this is just Minnesota. Please don't just say that those were just, two, citizens and they were out in with the Ahmaud Arbery. No, y'all, this is the society. This is the air that we breathe in North America, not just North America, in the world. This racism, this insidious sin is in the world. So please don't say it's an isolated incident, because it's not. It's been going on for how long? Hundreds, centuries it's been going on. So you can complain about the riots, and there are riots, Minnesota, Atlanta, Detroit, and guess what? There are going to be more riots. The more people in power complain about the powerless rioting, there are going to be more riots, because that just proves that those in power don't understand why the rioting is happening in the first place. This is what it is. I'm not advocating, I'm just telling you what's going to be. So you can condemn the Los Angeles riots, yet you don't condemn the verdict that found the police officers who beat Rodney King senseless. You can condemn the riots, but you don't condemn the act of those police officers. And they can get off. They can just do it. It's on camera. And they get away with it. All right. You can condemn the Baltimore riots. Oh, these people are this and that and the third. Hooligans and animals and all of this. Yet again, the police officers who killed Freddie Gray are not condemned. Are you seeing the disparity here? This is not a new phenomenon. In the 1960s, after King dies, there's riots. Condemn the rioters, but you don't want to condemn the racism that killed the prophet of nonviolence. Take it back even further. You want to condemn the rioting of Nat Turner's revolt, but you don't want to condemn the system of racism that they were revolting against. All right. I could go really on and on. I got feelings about it. I'm actually glad I still have feelings about it. Because it can be very numbing. True story. Put myself in the game. You got to put your skin in the game. I don't know. It's COVID times. I was coming home from the church. It's a 10-minute drive, literally. I was driving from the church and on my way home, and I was stopped by the police, by the RCMP. My lights were out. Somebody had turned it off auto. This is what literally happened. So, police officer, I'm on Forest Hills Parkway. The police officer does a real quick turn, and this was right after the mass shooting, right? So it was hypervigilance. Real quick turn, and so I'm thinking that he's chasing a bad guy, like something real in the world is happening. Anyway, so he comes, zooms up behind me. I pull off on the road, lights flashing, normal. But then like two other patrol cars come, and so I'm in the car, my heart is beating, sweating. So this is what happens. Night RCMP comes, license and registration, stuff like this. But this is what they were doing that made me so nervous. So they pinned my car so that I couldn't go anywhere. I'm talking to this police officer, or the RCMP officer. Meanwhile, another RCMP officer was coming on the passenger side, and I was so scared, y'all, like so scared. And so if y'all know me, y'all know I carry my my MERS, and so license and registration. And I instinctively, not even thinking about it, I go into my thing, and I was like, "Oh, Kirby, you are messing up right now." So I went to the police officer and I said, "I do not have a gun. I do not have a weapon." I was so scared. All right, this is real life. This is every day. We asked this question in church. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? The point that I want to make this morning is this. One of the points is we want to make racism a singular reality. What I mean by that is we don't want to talk about racism. We want to talk about racist. I remember, I don't know, a few years back, I had Phil Woodworth from PEI, pastor of Cornerstone Baptist Church, come to New Beginnings, and we did a conversation about race. And I remember I got so much heat, so much flack. People actually left the church because Phil asked me a question and I answered honestly. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to say it again, and hopefully there'll be more understanding. Phil asked me, Kirby, are all white people racist? And I said, yes. And I'm saying it again today. Not that all white people are bad and are, killing Black folks like this, but the society that we live in is a racist society filled with racism. Since we, myself included, participate in this society that is racist and filled with racism, we by default are racist. Now we can try to counter it. We can try to not be it. We can do our best. But we still participate in the system. So what I want to try to do today is to take it out of the singular. I see my brother Jay Gupta. I do right? Jay is a good guy. Jeremiah Stairs is on here. Jeremiah is a good dude. But we live in a world, we live in a society where for hundreds of years, this has been taken. It's in the water. This is what I'm saying. It's not even only in the water, it's in the air. And the more we try to defend ourselves against it, the more we succumb to it. I saw a post this morning, Facebook, Heather. She said, I benefit from white privilege. And she started listing the things that she could do without any fear. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? For us in the 21st century believers, this question, I don't know how we feel about this question, because it's not like we can go back in time to be present when Jesus was going through his passion process, his crucifixion experience. But Jesus, like Ahmaud Arbery, like George Floyd, like Trayvon Martin, like Tamir Rice, was an unarmed Black man whose life was ultimately taken by the system that saw him as a threat. That's right. Jesus was seen as a threat to the system, the religious system, the political system of the Roman Empire, and as a consequence, they colluded together. The religious system and the political system colluded together to crucify Jesus. But guess what? It wasn't just them. It was also the people. Luke chapter 23. I'm going to start at verse number 13. Pilate called together the chief priests, the rulers, and the people, and said to them, "You brought me this man," meaning Jesus, "as one who was inciting the people to rebellion." Sound familiar? Jesus was accused of inciting riots. "I have examined him in your presence and have found no basis for your charges against him. Neither has Herod, for he sent him back to us. As you can see, he has done nothing to deserve death. Therefore, I will punish him and then release him." But the whole crowd shouted, "Away with this man. Release Barabbas to us." Now, Barabbas had been thrown into prison for an insurrection in the city and for murder. Verse number 20, you got to hear it though. Wanting to release Jesus, Pilate appealed to them again. But they kept shouting, "Crucify him, crucify him." For the third time he spoke to them, "Why? What crime has this man committed? I have found in him no grounds for the death penalty. Therefore, I will have him punished and then release him." But with loud shouts, they insistently demanded that he be crucified, and their shouts prevailed. That's what happens when you don't read the text. When you don't read the text, you say simplistically, without the facts, the Jews killed Jesus. When you don't read the text simplistically and at the surface, you just say the Roman Empire, Pilate and Herod killed Jesus. and then you release accountability and responsibility from the crowd who shouted, "Crucify him, crucify him." So the question today that I have for you is, what is our responsibility in what's going on in the world as it relates to racism and blatant acts of lynching that we see in the world? Do we just, say that it's another part of the news cycle? Are we impacted? Are you impacted? Are you feeling? Do you say, "Oh, it's not me. I feel bad for the brother. I feel bad for his family"? Because your silence in matters like this, matters like Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd and Terrence Crutcher, if you don't say anything, if you don't stand up to be an ally, if you don't stand up to be a comrade, if you don't stand up for justice, it's the same thing as you saying, "Crucify him, crucify him." If you are not against the system that is evil, you are complicit with that same system. We are tasked. What can I do? What can I do, Kirby? What can I do, Pastor? We have to demand. Now, this is going to flip our theology on the head, though. So trust me, what I'm about to say is challenging. We have to flip our theology on the head that says the crowd, which is you and me, have to demand for Jesus to be released, because that is the just thing. I know, because the question is, well, if Jesus is released, then how do I get my salvation? I know at the cross, I know by the blood, I know it all. I know. But the people have a chance. The people have a choice. As a matter of fact, it actually says in the text that Pontius Pilate wanted to release Jesus, but the people kept saying, "Crucify him." So if the people said, "Release Jesus," Jesus would have been released. Now, I know the implications. I know it all. But as it applies to what I'm talking about today, we as a people need to say, "Release Jesus." Enough of this racism. Enough of this cancer that has been killing society for hundreds of years now. Enough of the belief that says we are not created equal. Enough. We got to release Jesus. I wanted to talk this morning about an experience that I had this week. But the Spirit was on me too much. I feel like Mordecai talking to Esther. For if you remain silent at such a time as this, deliverance for our people will come from some other place. And do not think that you will escape. My brothers and sisters, listen, I love you dearly, but we got to wake up. We have to see what is going on in the world. Not only see what's going on in the world, we have to do something about it. Now, oh, but what can I do? You can treat everybody as as the human being that they are. I'll give you a small example. Small, but big. If you know me, you know you never know what you are going to see me in when you see me. You could see me in a three-piece suit and a bow tie. I like bow ties. You could see me in jeans and a t-shirt. Yep. You could see me in Jordan 3s. Yep. You could see me in a hoodie and sweats. Yep. Baseball cap all day with all three of those varieties. This is what I hear a lot of the times. When I have on a hoodie, when I have on sweats, when I'm wearing my J's, oh, you look like one of the young guys. I didn't recognize you. And this is from people who know me. Now, it may sound innocent. Oh, I didn't mean anything by it. Yes and no. You actually did mean something by it. To counteract the society's mandate that calls for crucify him, the only way to reverse it is for us to say, release Jesus. Because Jesus stands for love. Jesus stands for hope. Jesus stands for the resurrection. Jesus stands for love. Jesus stands for faith. Jesus stands for light. Jesus stands for truth. Release Jesus. We got to stop shouting, crucify him, crucify him. We got to call for the release of Jesus. Jesus needs to be released into the world. Where does it start? It starts right here. In order for Jesus to be released in the world, Jesus has to be released in you. This is my prayer. This is my prayer for you. This is my prayer for the world. Lord, let Jesus be released in people. Let Jesus be released in our communities. Let Jesus be released in our families. Let Jesus be released in our cities. Let Jesus be released in our counties, in our country. Let Jesus be released in our thinking and in our mindset so that we can reverse this crucify him reality. I'm going to end here. If you would like discussion, if you would like to dialogue with me about some things that I have said today, I welcome it. I love every one of you from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to post on my new page because my old page is, I don't even know if they're going to give it back to me. I'm going to post on my new page a sermon by a friend of mine, Reverend Otis Moss III, senior pastor of the Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago. It's not long, but it is amazing, and it is in the same vein of this conversation that I'm trying to have with you today. He is much more eloquent. I didn't want to be scripted in this conversation. I'm going to post it. I pray that you will please take a listen, take a look. It's very powerful, and I believe that it will help your belief. I believe that it will help your faith to understand how we can release Jesus and take out of our lips and out of our thought and consciousness, crucify him, because that's what needs to happen. I love you. Take care. And again, if you would like to dialogue, I would very much welcome it. Good day and God bless you.